Hello, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening to wherever you are. This is our CNAB community meeting, which is every other Wednesday at 9 a.m. U.S. Pacific time, which is a crying shame, but there it is. This is the June 24th meeting. It's 12:06 on the eastern coast of the United States, and the appropriate other coasts will be reflected automatically. So I'm looking at the agenda, and as always, we should welcome any new CNABBERS. Are there people at the meeting that we haven't met? I don't think so. I think we are familiar with everybody else, at least in some rudimentary way. All right. Then the first item, according to the agenda that I see, is that Carolyn is also a spec maintainer according to the meeting notes, but the owner's file has not been updated. And so we have two little bullets here. There is a PR, that's a PR to add Carolyn to the owner's file. Is the owner's file up to date? Carolyn, you want to chat about this specifically?
It looks like we've gotten 2 people to approve it, so just need someone to merge it.
Whom else do we need? Oh, we just need somebody to merge.
Yeah.
So specifically, I was going through the owner's file last night, preparing for the security vote, and I knew that at some point everyone agreed, and we actually voted on Carolyn being a spec maintainer, but she was not on the owner's file. So what this PR does is it adds her on the owner's file, and I think we have 4 LGTMs, so I just merged it right now. So
thanks.
I think that's appropriate.
And then
now.
And then in terms of up-to-date, I thought we replaced Simon with Sylvain. Simon has been sucked into the WSL2 machine. And so he didn't feel it was fair that he would stay on the spec because he just didn't have the time to dedicate to it. So I think that was what we agreed way back when.
So I can take it as an action item to update the owner's file to remove Simon, and I think Sylvain is already there. So the only action item here is to remove Simon, right?
Yeah, yep. I think so.
Okay. And then that's the first action item. That was fairly fast.
So we definitely have to slow down here. We don't want to pull a muscle. We will slowly but surely move into the CNAB Registry draft, which needs a review, address feedback, rebased, and so forth. I'm going to open that up.
Did you skip the security part on purpose?
Yes, I did, he said, not having intended that. Let us back up one, which is the CNAB Security vote, which is very important. I'm personally very interested in this. So Roddy, why don't you go ahead and get us up to date?
After many small PRs to fix a lot of small things, I think everyone, we're finally at the point where we can call a vote for the CNAB security spec. I think we can call it, according to the process, GA, once the working group, which is this group of people who can approve, approves it. So the only thing that I have to do now that we've merged Carolyn as well is add her to the list of people who should review the PR. I just did.
Okay.
So the PR that I just that I linked 376 on the CNAB spec, specifically the only thing that it does, it changes the term from draft to working group approval, as in GA, according to the process, which is document 901, which I just pasted in chat as well. Essentially, GA means that everyone, the spec maintainers approved with I think it's a 2/3 supermajority that the spec is in GA. I say assume because I read the document process a couple of times last night, and I did not see specifically laid out that it needs a 2/3 supermajority. It only said the document that then the process document said that when the working group believes a draft fits for standardization, the group formally approves the draft and submits it for approval. It doesn't say anything about 2/3 simple majority. So I've gone back and looked at the CNAB Core 1.0 GA process, and for that, people requested a 2/3 supermajority. So not exactly sure if we should update the process, or I missed something in the process, or there's another document that specifically lays out the process for this. But this PR, yeah, it's rather straightforward. It changes the status from draft to GA. Please read, approve it. Do people have questions?
I'm not an approver, but I've read the documents and the process documents as well, and I completely agree with your interpretation. It's not immediately called out. When we created the CNAB Foundation, we had extensive conversations. Chris may be able to remember this. We had extensive conversations about exactly how the consensual mechanism was supposed to work. And 2/3 supermajority for these kinds of things was the discussion, but we do not seem to have encoded it formally, so that might be an open issue for the future, just to be a little more precise. But for the time being, I think you're right about it.
Specifically, there's another governance document that might be more or less up to date with whatever we intended, which is in the CNAB.io community repo.
Okay.
Which I put in
Are you
chat.
dropping it in?
I just put it in chat. Specifically, that document does mention supermajority, but for working group creations and submission for other standards bodies and publication and stuff like that, but it does not for working group approval. So
it's exactly the same
Chris about this probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think Ralph's right. I think we had discussions about this. I would say if we want to be safe, we should just go with 2/3. I don't think it's going to be a problem anyway. And then we should be okay. But
I personally am going to push for unanimity. I'm going to see if we can get everybody to sign off, because if they don't want to sign off and they need to have an objection to the as currently formulated. So. For a working process, quite aside from what the formal ones do, I'm going to try and harass everybody on the list so that we can either get the proper feedback or move on, which is wonderful. So for the note taker, I think that means Ralph volunteers for conclusive harassment.
So he's going to be a majority whip? Is that the right metaphor?
Might be. That's in the ballpark. You're right. I will act as the whip here. That's precisely correct.
Just to wrap this discussion item up, I'd like to officially thank Trishank for all the work he's put into the registry spec. Really thank you for that, and for bearing with everyone slowly going through reviews.
Both of you, in fact, both you and Trishank. Thank you.
No, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thanks for putting up with all our harassment about security issues.
It has to stop now. In particular, I think this is fantastic. Obviously, and I think I may have mentioned this before, but the work that you both, with everybody else's collaboration, of course, but really led by you both, it lays the groundwork for us to collectively as a community for us to begin laying examples just in repositories for proper workflow that has nothing specifically to do with CNAB. That is, we can begin showing this working for software supply chain verification. The fact that it'll flow into a CNAB process is brilliant for our community and for people who might discover the utility of bundles wherever they may are. But we get to move forward now and really show people in the world that open source actually has the first working examples in scale out developer environments, both in things like Docker Hub, for example, can make use of this, but also GitHub and other public repositories can begin making use of this in a way that shows the enterprise system shall we say, that they're way behind the times. And it's just much easier to do the right thing, which is fantastic. So as part of this, and one of my action items will be to continue working with everybody to sort of set up working example repositories in GitHub, and so that people can contribute, try and hack it, try and not be verified, do the verification and so forth. I'm not really clear exactly what that properly should be, but I really would like it to be something that's quite real world proof of the tooling that is involved here. And I'm going to do that in collaboration with Microsoft's CDA team for DevOps, evangelism, and so forth. DevOps, not the product, but the actual lifestyle. But in collaboration with GitHub's developer evangelism team as well. If anybody else would like to jump on board, I'd love to have it. It's really just a way to attempt to help the entire community see how this could be done using the real protocols that we tried to put in motion. And the eventual usage here would be a bundle that can be verified that way as well, right? So just to let everybody know that that's my sort of intention, to make immediate use of your work. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. That sounds very, very, very exciting. Let me also officially thank Radu and yourself for helping me along this process.
Generally, my experience has been to thank Radu unduly is really a bad plan. But in this case, we'll allow it. We'll allow it. All right.
Unfortunately, it's on record, so never mind.
It's now on record. So in terms of the does it need 2/3 supermajority issue, I think probably we should go back and clarify with the illustrious executive directors how we'd like to make that a little bit more specific, just so we don't go through time kind of going, well.
But in the meantime,
but in the meantime,
please vote.
In the meantime, Ralph is the majority whip for this particular portion of the spec. So I'm looking forward to that. So now, do we have the CNAB Registry draft? Is that the next item?
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
Specifically, last week, I think Vaughn reviewed the draft one more time, and he offered a ton of very good suggestions. I updated the draft based on his suggestions and other suggestions that came in that draft, rebased against the latest the latest things that were merged in the main branch. So if people are reviewing any PR and CNAB spec, please give that a look as well. I think we've discussed it over and over, and just needs 2 LGTMs so we can merge the first version of the draft, and then people can pick up individual issues. So I just pasted the PR in chat. Have a look at it. If there are still things that we want to go through, please feel free to raise them. That being said, it is a draft. So,
right. Of the members here, do we have 2 that are capable of reviewing and LGTMing? Carolyn?
Yeah, I'm signed up to review.
Okay, so Carolyn, is there another one who might be able to actually take on the task of reviewing and LGTMing if appropriate?
I can give it another read, but we worked on this with Sylvain and Radu as well. So we had a bunch of eyes on this already. So it would be good to get people who are outside of that group. So thank you, Carolyn.
That's fantastic. I don't know, Jacob Churchunk, are either of you interested in having a look and LGTMing? I'm only suggesting this in the interest of moving the draft in the draft form, because I'm aware that we're going to continue iterating quite a bit to make sure it's.
I think Tushank already gave the draft a read. I think he gave some feedback, some useful feedback as well.
Great.
Yep, I can take another quick look. No problem.
If you do that and let us know what you think, then I think this can move, hopefully, into draft stage because of the hard work that's been done already. And if that's the case, then I really look forward to continuing to iterate
I'll pass this on to someone who's working on this. a Datadog as well.
Okay. If we can have somebody do that, that would be just brilliant. And I do appreciate it. Again, a little majority whip action here. So, has anybody, would anybody like to bring up any other issues that they care to discuss, have addressed? So for, let's see, there's another one now, PR review requested, correct?
Yeah.
Agenda?
Yep, I put that on there. I can speak to that.
Okay.
So it links to CNAB Go PR 219. And it's kind of a refactor PR motivated by our working porter, pretty much around generalizing some structs in the code that were originally written around credential source resolution, but in Porter, we wanted to harness that same logic for parameter source resolution. So it kind of updates some verbiage and generalizes some structs to do so. So that's the background for the PR, and would appreciate some reviews. Any questions around that?
I will have a couple if nobody else does.
Come from secrets, which is pretty cool.
Right. So I'm interested in understanding sort of the ramifications. I believe I understand the ramifications because Carolyn and I chatted a little bit about this. The ramifications are essentially that the model for parameters tends to streamline with the model for credentials in terms of sets of each. Does it change the overall functionality of parameters relative to credentials?
It gives them the same capabilities.
Okay.
So that you could map them to different things. Like right now, parameters, the way the tools have to deal with them is, you specify them at the command line for the most part.
Right.
This would allow us to map them to an environment variable or a file or a secret that's stored in like Vault and things like that.
So you have the kind of radical flexibility that you already have with credential sets.
Yeah.
Which allows you to do all kinds of things and allows other people to do all kinds of things, which is great. That kind of flexibility is wonderful.
Yeah, people are users are pretty pumped about this feature.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sounds good. If people can have a look at that one, and especially with a little bit of a jaundiced eye, because we're now changing that particular set. It makes a lot of sense to me, but when it makes too much sense, I get suspicious. So if somebody would be willing to look with a jaundiced eye at it, that would be great, because we can. What's your problem, Vaughn? You're all chuckly.
I just love these meetings that when you moderate.
Yeah. I'm going to tell Butcher that. I'm telling you, I'm going to tell Butcher. Anyway, so if we could have somebody, if anybody's willing to blow a little bit of their morning or their afternoon, their evening on that PR, it actually sounds like a very good one to think about quickly and decide whether you think it makes good sense. So have a look at that. Let's see. I think that's it. Shall we throw it open to the floor? Are there things that we should discuss, things we should know? More generally, I think I already described my forward-looking motions on my side in CNAB. My job, as I see it, in the next 6 months, because my mega corporation thinks in 6 month sprints, and then adjusts every week, because why not? Over the next 6 months, my job will be to enable as many CNAB scenarios as I possibly can in the real world for real world open source workloads. I welcome any and all collaboration. If you want your workload to be part of that, or your service to be part of that work, it's my intention to collaborate with GitHub on fundamental CNAB and open source protocol usage. I already mentioned the in toto work. that I want to exercise. And a lot of this has to do with GitHub and larger open source developer advocates to begin doing things like we're working hard with GitHub people to begin teaching people how to sign their commits on a regular basis, how to make it easier. I'm going to try and collaborate. Radu is smiling unduly. That kind of irritates me, and I don't know why. So that people have the verified checks more easily and understand how to set up a GitHub repo or how to have GitHub improve its processes for things that feed into the protocol and implementation work that we have done here. And so the next 6 months is all about me trying to make sure that people benefit from the work that we're finally landing amongst all the tools, whether it's Docker app or Porter, but it's all the features of CNAB and the larger attachment of the protocols that we use, like in Toto and Tough and things like that, with these, huge public services like GitHub in particular. So if there's any other locations that we need to do the same work, please let me know. This is essentially my agenda for the next 6 months. So ping me, Slack me, beat me, whip me, make me write bad checks is the old phrase from 30 years ago. And Radu is skeptical that progress will be made.
Really looking forward to that.
All right, so am I. That makes 2 of us. It'd be fantastic. So if anybody else would like to join up or say something, go ahead.
Oh, me. In the meantime, I added one more small item to the agenda, which is Tushang's PR to update the delegation process in Signy.
Mm-hmm.
It's still in draft. It's almost finished, but I think it would be a good idea for people to have a look if they're interested in delegations in Signy. It essentially, I think it should implement the GA version of the security spec. I think that's how we intended for these 2 particular PRs to correspond. So if people are interested in this, it was the last major work item in Signy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just linked the PR and added the agenda.
This is great. Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, I love that it targets the GA version of the security spec. I also love the whole checklist in front. The last 4 do actually just seem to be sort of verification features and polish and things like that. Am I understanding those correctly?
Yeah, largely polish, and the verification part is important, but it's the last mile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Radu's like, who cares about verification? Just sign the damn thing.
What did he say? Security is hard. No, I mean, the interesting thing is that last mile is going to be the thing that makes anybody ever use it. If it's 94% done, they won't use it. It'll just be like PGP, which is, in fact, 94% done. Great. This is interesting. I'm going to have to begin using this. I will be the idiot user that begins using all of these tools and these repositories and examples to figure out how I can also screw it up such that we can make better choices. So I apologize for the next 3 months of my usage. Carolyn is already suffering,
Ralph, I'm very happy to have a user. This is exciting for me.
I mean, I don't know about other companies. Everybody is here because the project benefits them and their users in some important way. It certainly is benefiting us and our customers as well. I actually think the wider world that isn't immediately a direct customer is going to benefit tremendously if we can get their attention. It has been a long road in which the spec dramatically preceded the tooling for quite some time. And that made it difficult for us to land a message that could be followed up with an experience that was functional for them. And I think that we've made it. this next year is going to be the year of showing people what can actually be done here. And I think that's fantastic, just fantastic. And especially to all the contributions of everybody that, you know, is not necessarily here anymore, right? All the people that are not in this particular call. There were tons of people that put in lines and lines of code to make stuff happen, and you know, argued over this or that thing in the spec to solidify it and make it go forward. So I want to thank everybody there too, even though they're not here. Hopefully we'll uplift the world a bit. I think that's going to be fantastic. I have confidence. Anything else we need to discuss? All right. I think we have officially concluded our meeting. 31 minutes in, which we started 5 minutes late, so it was a 26-minute meeting. Not so bad. Everybody stay good, stay healthy, and stay safe.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rolf.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Carolyn, for taking notes. Right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.